And now I am honored to introduce and turn the conversation over to the founder, CEO, and chief rabble-rouser here at the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce, Nancy Wilson. Nancy launched CanWCC in January 2018 out of frustration regarding the barriers, lack of resources, and difficulty finding connections she experienced as a business owner. And she has been working ever since to create a powerful and diverse network through which to drive change and create equity in Canadian business. Nancy is a driven and accomplished feminist entrepreneur who loves learning new things, meeting new people, discussing the philosophical underpinnings of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and watching horror movies. So join me as we welcome Nancy today.
Thank you, Jenna. And thanks for that impassioned introduction, land acknowledgement, and highlighting what is going on across Canada and in Winnipeg in particular. So today I'm going to go through a presentation. I'm going to try to keep it relatively short, but anyone who knows me knows I'm a bit of a rambler, and my favorite thing to talk about is, of course, CanWCC. So, so if Jenna, can you put up the slides? I'm going to go through them. I'm going to talk about the past, present. We'll give you a sneak peek into the future. One of the things I'm going to talk about specifically is our new approach and our new framework around advocacy that we're putting forward for our future, the next 5 years, 10 years, 100 years down the road. And so I'm really excited to share that with everybody. And then we will turn the mic over to all of you and answer any questions you have, or perhaps start a discussion amongst all of us. So welcome to our Fall Town Hall for 2023. This is our second Fall Town Hall. We had one last year, and it went really well. So so we've decided to start doing one annually. And so I'm really, really pleased to see everyone. And I appreciate the fact that your time is precious. It's a precious commodity, as is your energy. So thank you so much for being here today. Next slide. So as I said, we're going to look back for the last 5 years, go over our current advocacy strategy, how we're reframing it, and then look a little bit into the future. So, as Jenna said, CanWCC was founded in January. Well, we launched in January of 2018. So it's been 5 years. It's been a wild ride. And when I founded CanWCC, I very specifically wanted to start a chamber of commerce, not another not-for-profit for women, or a more general women's advocacy organization. And the reason for that is because I suspected that the brand name Chamber of Commerce, the brand of it, had power. And I wanted to take the power that the Chamber of Commerce brand had, that had been being used for over 100 years by powerful men and other powerful groups to maintain their power. And I wanted to take that built up power and exploit it on behalf of a less powerful group. And so I took that brand name and I started the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce, since Canada didn't have a Women's Chamber of Commerce, banking on the fact that the brand name would give the organization automatic credibility, automatic legitimacy, and would open doors in government and across civil society as well. And it worked. It worked immediately. So we launched January 2018. By the summer of 2018, I had personal invitations from the Prime Minister's office to come to Ottawa to speak to them, from what was then the Ministry of Small Business to come to Ottawa to meet with the minister. And over the past 5 years, we have gone to Ottawa to take those meetings, to talk to government and other elected officials about what unique needs women identified and non-binary entrepreneurs and business owners have, and so that is the great thing about being a chamber of commerce. It gets you in the door. On the problem with being a chamber of commerce is it's a hard sell when you're trying to get women identified and non-binary folks to join you, because chambers of commerce have been run by powerful people for so long, and they don't tend to be very welcoming to folks that aren't in power. So what I've been trying to do for the last 5 years is exploit the brand name, but also explain to our potential members that even though we have that brand name, we're a different sort of chamber of commerce. We are, and we don't have to be like the other chambers of commerce. So one of the things we do is we do not tolerate any BS, right? So during the pandemic, I was invited to testify in front of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Finance around their budget. Now, the reason why they invited me was because they wanted someone to sing their praises around the child care legislation that they had passed. But I decided to take that time to read them the Riot Act because they hadn't increased funding to the women's entrepreneurship strategy, which they didn't seem to like very much. And I may not get an invitation to speak in front of that committee for a little while, but that's fine, because this is not a chamber of commerce where we're going to just toe the line and tell government what they want to hear. When we get in that door, we're going to tell them exactly what our members are telling us, which during the pandemic was, it's not good. Like, it's a bad situation out there. And so if I'm in front of the Standing Committee on Finance, I'm not going to say good job on the childcare. Everything else can be forgotten. The other thing that we're going to do as a different type of chamber of commerce is build through partnerships. So we partnered with the Women's Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub. We've been the partner since the very beginning, back in 2018, and we continue to submit policy submissions and reports all the way through. So pre and post budget briefs, reports on various issues. We did a landmark survey on the needs of underrepresented and under-recognized entrepreneurs very close to the beginning of the pandemic lockdown. That got us a lot of visibility within government, and that was certainly something that we've built upon. So that's the last 5 years. I had to tweak my goals when the pandemic hit, but I tweaked my goals to this 5x5 structure, which anyone who has watched Buffy will know 5x5 is kind of like a Buffy thing. So, and I will say I'm very proud that we have been able to reach my 5x5 goal framework. So it's been 5 years. We've got over 500 members, or we've seen over 500 members come through the chamber. We've definitely submitted more than 5 policy submissions, and we have been able to raise over approximately, not over, but approximately $5 million in funding for the chamber. So that's where we're at now. So as I said, we're a different type of chamber of commerce. We make our own rules. And one of what we are focused on is economic equity. So we are the first Chamber of Commerce that puts equity at the forefront of everything that we do. Doesn't make sense for us to create a new Chamber of Commerce to support a group that is marginalized and then cater to only, the top 5%. That's not what we're all about. Also, as a relatively new Chamber of Commerce, we have the benefit of doing things differently, and we intend to do things differently. So we're always open to new ideas, and we're experimenting, evolving to be better, to serve our community better. And one of those things that we're evolving and working on is our advocacy strategy. So as a Chamber of Commerce, Chambers of Commerce primarily exist to advocate and represent their members in policy discussions and in front of government. But advocacy organizations, including Chambers of Commerce, have traditionally operated in a very top-down, paternalistic way, where the organization knows the issues, they do the research, and then they kind of pick and choose what should be put forward. So we don't want to operate like that. So we are really working to redefine what advocacy is and how we approach it, and how we can bring our community in to participate in advocacy, so that we do not just replicate this cycle of the all-knowing advocacy organization teaching its members about what is important to them. So this is our new, somewhat work in progress framework. So first of all, we're driven by our conviction that economic equity is a human right. That's what guides us and our advocacy. But we want to redefine what advocacy is and what it looks like. And that definition, our definition of it, is really broad and deep. So what does advocacy look like? We believe that advocacy looks like starting, operating, building, and scaling a woman-owned business. That's advocacy. That's moving economic equity forward every day. Joining CanWCC. That's advocacy right there. Learning about issues, participating in discussions, attending the fall town hall. These are all advocacy issues. Advocacy doesn't always look like signing a petition or marching in a protest march, right? Although those are certainly valid and legitimate ways to perform advocacy as well. But we want our members to know that just by doing what they're doing right now, today, tomorrow, when they wake up and continue to run their business, they are participating in advocacy, and they are advancing the cause. Having said that, oh, can you go back? Sorry. So then also anyone of any gender can participate in our advocacy activities. We want to, expand our reach beyond our members into a larger community. And then finally, we want to really integrate this new framework of advocacy across our organization and into all of our activities, departments, and operations. So that's the long-term advocacy strategy. That's how we are going to frame advocacy, and we're moving towards even, moving away from advocacy towards more of a collective impact framework for how the organization conceptualizes those activities. In the shorter term, thinking about the next couple of years, our focus in the shorter term is on access to capital. And that's because when we surveyed our members over the last couple of years, and just every single conversation we've had, every single event we've had for the last couple of years, every single time the conversation is access to capital. That is that is one of the biggest barriers and challenges that our community is struggling with. So our focus is access to capital. Yeah. And we want to emphasize that under the larger framework, you know, we don't have the answers to the questions, but our role is really to ask the right questions, and to listen to what our community tells us. And that's how we're going to build our policy advocacy around that focus of access to capital. So the access to capital focus is organized around 3 interrelated questions. So the first question that we're asking over the next couple of years, our short-term focus, when I talk about short-term, I'm talking about like 2023 to 2025 or 2026, right? So these 3 interrelated questions, one is, how do language and identity impact women identified and non-binary entrepreneurs' access to capital? The second one is, how do access to networks impact women identified and non-binary entrepreneurs' access to capital? And a sub-question is, how do language and identity impact access to those networks, which then subsequently impact their access to capital? The third question is, what financial instruments are available and accessible to women identified and non-binary entrepreneurs? And do we need something new and or different? So I think we have a poll. Jenna's going to put up the poll.
Yeah, you should see that poll pop up on your screen. There are 3 questions there to answer related to these questions on the screen. Does everybody see it, or do I need to stop sharing?
Looks good.
Perfect, thank you. So the first question is, do you feel that your identity or the language that you use to describe your business has impacted your ability to access capital? Yes or no? Second question is, has your identity impacted your access to networks or groups? Yes or no? And the third question is, do you think that new financial instruments or systems are needed to provide access to capital to women and non-binary owned businesses in Canada? There's just a couple people left to complete the poll, and then I will share the results. We'll have a little discussion about them. I love how quickly everybody's answered, though. This poll's only been open for like a minute, and we've got almost everybody answering. So thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to give it about 20 more seconds, and then I'm going to end the poll and share the results. And if you can't access the poll, you can also answer the questions in the chat. Feel free to just put any feedback that you might have about the 3 questions that are up on the screen right now. And let's talk about the results. Here you can see the results. So answer to question 1, do you feel that your identity or the language that you use to describe your business has impacted your ability to access capital? We have 79% of the people here saying yes. Has your identity impacted your access to networks or groups? We have 58% saying yes, 42% saying no. And the third question, do you think that new financial instruments or systems are needed to provide access to capital to women and non-binary owned businesses in Canada? 92% say yes, and 8% said no. So thank you everyone for that input. Really appreciate that.
That's great. That's great intel. And it tells me that these are questions worth answering, or worth asking rather. All right. So how can you participate in CanWCC, and how can you participate in our advocacy? I mean, I've outlined it already, but you know, really what we need is community members that are engaged, that want to participate in discussions, that want to think about these things, that want to have different discussions that are different than those that are going on in the ecosystem, to provide us feedback, positive or negative. We welcome all of it. Tell other folks about us, your friends and colleagues and other folks out that are running businesses. If you think that they would benefit from being a member, tell those folks about us, and you know, just keep doing what you're doing. You're, as I said, running your business, building your business, growing your business is, you know, as everyone knows, that it's no mean feat. It's a full-time job, even if it's a part-time business. So so you're doing the hard work, and you're advancing economic equity every day, and we appreciate it. So we'll move to the sneak peek at membership, and I'll pass it on to Jenna to give us some information on that.
Oh, I just unpinned myself. Here we go. So yeah, we are so excited. We've hired new team members to help us grow our bilingual capacity for French speaking events, and adding French speaking members, really trying to encompass all of Canada and continually grow our reach and our abilities to service all women and non-binary entrepreneurs across the country. If you're a member, you might know that we have member spotlights available. We're going to be launching with a new format next year. We're going to have a certain number of them available for you each month so that you can participate and we can amplify what you're doing and you and your business. We also have member hosted webinars. So this is where our members who might have a product or service that they want to sell or promote can work with us to host a virtual event, which we promote and do all the work for. You just have to show up and talk about your business, and we'll bring you all the people into your event. So these have been pretty popular. I've really enjoyed doing them with our members, and it just is such a wonderful way to find out more about the businesses that our members host and how we can support them. We also have our database for funding opportunities. Now, right now that lives in our member circle area. So all of our members have access to every funding opportunity that comes across our desk. We make sure that it's listed in the circle, but we're going to be looking to make something a little more shareable and accessible so that everyone can see the funding that people are putting out across the country, and you can be able to search and see what, you know, fits your criteria for you and your business. Because things just come out in drips and drabs, and we don't always understand if this one's made for us, or, you know, how much money's coming out. Is it a grant? Is it a loan? Is it, you know, some kind of an incubator program with money at the end? We really want to make sure that's clear for you so you can figure out what works. And then we also have our member survey that we're starting. So we're going to do some detailed outreach with our members. So as a result, we've got a really great prize here at the end. You can win a 1-year membership for you and a friend. So you can invite somebody else to come on here to the chamber, and a 6-month Zoom enterprise license. So this is the full Zoom package, like a professional package that costs thousands of dollars if you were to buy it on your own. that we would be able to provide you for the 6 months to be able to use for you and your business. You get access to recordings, all of the registration reports, poll reports, like all the functionality that you want in Zoom. All the functionality you see before you today in Zoom is available. So we are really looking forward to this survey. It is going to start in mid-January. We'll be mailing it out to everybody who's a member to participate with us. And then most excitingly is we've been testing out a program right now, Monday Money Talks, where we've had over 12 weeks of conversation. Well, we still have 7 weeks left. So if you haven't joined, there's lots of time. But we're talking about, you know, our relationship to money and what our money feelings are, what is the impact of money in our lives, and having some really important conversations. And we're pivoting the second half to be really focused on setting you up for success in your business in 2024. So our next one's going to be on pricing. And that system has really led me to build out what we're looking at right now. We're really looking at how do we provide access to capital? What capital's out there? What do you need to have done in order to access that capital? Because we know it is a real pain in the butt when you see a fund or an opportunity coming up that's due tomorrow and you have to write a pitch for it. So we'll work together to get all of that stuff ready to be able to take on access to capital. And then in May and July, we're going to be working on increasing revenue. And then in September to November, growing capacity. So these are going to be sprints or little cohorts that you can join as a member. We're going to be looking for some entrepreneurs, some women and non-binary entrepreneurs to be leading these kinds of conversations and helping us with this, because again, we don't have all the answers. We're working with you because we know that you have the answers. And to generate this content for our members. So we're really excited for next year. It'll have a really good flow. And I look forward to getting your feedback on how these programs go so we can make sure that they work for you and support the work that you're doing. And if you have any questions about membership, you can always email me, and my details are at the end of the presentation. And also message me in Circle. I know almost all of you are in our community Circle platform, so you can always reach out to me there. Yeah, that's our sneak peek at membership. Thanks, Nancy.
Great. Thanks, Jenna. Right. So the other thing that we are launching next year is a grant-funded project called Flip the Script. And it is a free 6-month program for diverse women identified and non-binary business owners that are that have a business and they're looking for financing for that business. So we will have information sessions coming soon, probably in January. Things are still in the project planning stage. The 6-month program includes peer support, skills training around how to best respond to questions from potential funders, whether it's venture capital, angel, or debt financing. So going to a bank manager or account manager to seek a loan. We're also developing, as part of the program, a piece of software that will help you sort of run through your the Q&A portion. So respond to questions that funders may ask you as part of the process, and how to craft the best answers to those questions. And then we're also building an investor network and trying to connect folks with that network. So as I said, information sessions should be posted relatively soon. They will happen in the new year. And if you want to continue to receive updates and notifications on this program, you can sign up at the link that was just posted in the chat. Yes. And I believe that's the end of our presentation. I think it's time for questions. Yes, it is.
Just checking the Q&A feature. So I'm going to pause the share. Actually, I'll stop the share right now so we can all see each other. Let's check Q&A. I've got nothing in the Q&A, so let's see what's in the chat here. Sylvia, yeah, come off mute, share your question.
Me,
Oh, you're on.
Sylvia?
There you go.
Oh, this is somebody else. Oh, there's somebody else. Oh, okay. Phew.
But then you, other Sylvia. Okay, Sylvia, you're still muted. Oh, Sylvia, why don't you use the chat? Oh,
Do you hear me now?
yeah, there we go.
Sorry about that. I'll lower my hand and be respectful. And off we go. First of all, thank you for being around and thank you for tackling this. We're living in a sociological catastrophe. And I totally get where you're at. I just don't know how anybody can start a business or foundationally with shaking sands when you're on ODSP. I have a lot of brilliant ideas and things are coming at me from all angles because I feel like a mother cub that I owe it to my ancestors and leave a future legacy. I don't want to be just another pathetic, lazy person on ODSP. I've got a story to tell of how I got here.
Okay.
So in light of that, I don't have a product, but I've got a movement idea that could impact the city of Toronto tremendously through this sociological problem. Would be trauma-based informed movement, relieving a nervous system. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia a few years ago, gained a lot of weight with the wrong pharmaceutical medications, had a lot of very, very bad side effects, and now I'm just lifting weights and going back to my former roots of being a fitness instructor. How do I approach the city of Toronto? No funding, grassroots, to address this, because I'm hashtagging away. I'm doing this really grassroots. I'm a survivor of gender-based violence.
Yeah.
We're given, and actually, Women at the Center was awarded a grant to have 9 women collectively tell their stories of survival. And now that we've got this digital book and the stories are alive and well, I want to ensure that we can address this movement and empower ourselves before long care gets addressed, because that's another sociological catastrophe. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. I really appreciate what you're saying. And I think, there's a lot of, much like, we have gender stereotypes and gender norms that create barriers. And, there are norms and stereotypes about individuals with disabilities, folks who are on social support services, certainly individuals with disabilities, and all of those intersecting identities create immense barriers to overcome. So I really congratulate you and applaud you for your for your resilience and your persistence, as well as your thinking big and all of those things. I'm in awe of you right now. I wish I had the answer to your question. I think that looking at the municipality is probably not a bad idea. Sorry, you're on mute again. I do think that this is something that that could benefit from a brainstorm session with some other folks and some research and putting you in touch with the right person at the city, which may not be difficult to do. So definitely follow up with Jenna.
I've reached out to MP Olivia Chow. I've reached out, like, and it's funny because I still have some connections with the former city employees I used to work with, but they're in head. And they said, you have to do it with an MP.
Right.
We've got a conversation going. So I've
Okay.
spoken to Julie Durnstein.
Yeah.
She would reach out to Yara Sachs, but I haven't heard back. So
Okay.
I'm sort of championing Aura Freedom as well. I was
Yeah.
at the Alamo last week, so
Mhm.
I don't want to take up too much time because I know you got so many other
Yeah.
folks. It is a sociological problem we're facing as women, and
Yeah.
the displacement, even just to think about business,
Mhm.
as I'm going to pursue an accounting degree in the future. The fact is, I'm on shaky ground.
Yeah.
So
Well-
There's Citalia in the chat has shared a resource with the city of Toronto where other associates meet weekly to find ways to solve problems. So that's a great one right there. Also, I'll get you in, make sure you're in the circle because we can post about this in the circle, which I think we were working on before, so we can make sure that happens. And I want to invite,
Thank you.
yeah, I want to invite Roberta to the stage.
Hi, I'll lower my hand here. So nice to see everyone. I apologize, I'm wearing a toque. I'm recovering from illness, but I'm really happy to be here today. And I just saw that you put those prompts in the chat, Jenna, and I think that's really great because that's sometimes I kind of struggle to come up with a really clear question. But coming from the background that I come from, and we haven't had the opportunity to chat yet, Nancy, because I'm new to the organization, but I'm somebody who was diagnosed as neurodivergent during the pandemic. I'm mostly deaf, so I have these intersections of disability. I've been working in communications and journalism for many years, but now I'm running my own consultancy more around neuroinclusivity. That's something I'm deeply passionate about. And so I see your organization as definitely helping me to kind of expand my reach, which would be great. But I'm also really curious too, if you've ever given any thought to some of the more kind of niche funding and opportunities for entrepreneurs with disabilities. I know there's some great work being done out there. I've been chatting with the folks at Rise for a little bit of funding. I'm just wondering if that's something that's kind of on your radar, and if not, could it be? That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of our projects that we're working on is called the Economic Equity Alliance. And it is a cross-sector alliance with different organizations across Canada and across sectors looking at policy or lack of policy to support self-employed individuals. And we have representatives from Rise on that alliance, as well as Up With Women, which I think is another organization that works with individuals who have previously been homeless or otherwise in marginalized scenarios and are trying to start and run businesses. So so it's definitely on my radar. I think those are really, really great groups. And one of the things that we did when the pandemic lockdown first started is we partnered with organizations that were, I guess, kind of niche organizations. So organizations that focused on refugees, new Canadians, individuals with disabilities, those specific groups to consult and build the survey to look at the impact of the pandemic on under-recognized entrepreneurs and founders, because we knew that without building the trust with those specific communities, we wouldn't get the uptake. If we just sent out a random survey, those people don't know necessarily who we are. But if we built the trust with folks that had trust with the various communities, not only could we build a network with those communities, but we would be able to get more significant uptake with people doing the survey, which is exactly what happened. So So we have networks built, and we definitely want to further leverage those networks to support those communities as well as our own community, and to do some integration, right? So that there's knowledge sharing across all vectors, I guess I would say.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Nancy. I'm really excited to be a part of this organization. And I'm so glad to see that my friend Leanna has also joined, and she's also working in the accessibility space. So yay, Leanna.
Awesome. Welcome. Hi, Sylvia.
Hi, I'm the other Sylvia.
Other Sylvia.
The other
Awesome.
Sylvia that was told you we're going to ask you a question afterwards.
Yep.
But really getting into the conversation of what's being said, I am in the mortgage industry, and I have decided to put together a course for women that are at risk. And when I say at risk, women that are low income, ones that are on ODSP, really to help them to understand some of the issues, especially when it comes to credit, what they should look for. And I'm in a position of needing some support from this organization as the best way to put this program to help women.
Mhm.
Once that program is completed, my goal is to reach out to some of the lenders, like the banks or credit unions, to see if they can put together some type of a low risk, not low risk, I have low risk on my mind, low interest rate repayment for these individuals that can afford to get themselves in some type of order. Because like the other Sylvia was saying, is that being on ODSP, it's, you know, you're kind of pushed down, and you can't seem to get yourself up, and women need that help, and they need that support. And it would be great if us as a community, women can, you know, move forward by helping them in that way. It's not a matter of just getting the educational piece. It's what am I getting out of it? What's going to help me to get out of it? So that's my approach to my course. And I'm really hoping I can get some support from this organization.
Definitely. I think, you know, I think that posting on the circle about what you're putting together is something that you can do, you know, tonight, tomorrow. Going beyond that, though, I like the idea of maybe exploring roundtables where folks like you that have expertise in this area, we can get members together for conversations so that CanWCC could put together policy recommendations that could kind of piggyback on what the government has made clear is their priority. So what I think is, you know, the government in the last budget was talking, you know, housing strategy. Great. So what are they doing in their housing strategy for folks that are on ODSP or Ontario Works, which I'm sorry, I don't know the equivalent outside of Ontario, which is terrible, but so, you know, social assistance or ODSP. What is the path for those folks in the housing strategy, right? So for us to get together and to co-create what that path might look like, and to submit that to the feds and say, look, we want to see this type of thinking integrated into your housing strategy as well. And then doing that, we can also say to them, you know, we want to see this type of thinking coming out of the federal budget, so that you guys, the government, can start putting pressure on the banks, the lenders, to support this as well, because I think that's the type of might that is required to get the lenders to actually start looking at those options. So definitely keep that in mind, and follow up with Jenna, and Jenna will continue to poke me until the roundtable idea makes it to the top of the list. I am not
Where's
always
the round table idea?
Yeah,
Are we
exactly.
on the
She'll
list.
say.
We're,
She'll say,
I
don't
mean, these
forget
are the,
about that.
yeah, these are the things we're working on for 2024. So
2024.
everything we do we're going to be posting in our community circle. I put the link up there. And Sylvia, I gave you my email address. I'm going to put it in the chat at the end for everybody too. But yeah, I think, you know, Sylvia need to get connected in the circle. So I'll have to make sure that happens for both of you. So I'm so glad you were both here and able to share what you have going on.
Yeah. Thanks, Sylvia.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions? I mean, we would love to know what you think about what we're planning for 2024, or what you think about our integrated advocacy strategy. So if you have anything, there's even more stuff coming up in the chat here. Jamie's offering Sylvia some support, and Anastasia is also offering some support in creating some policies with banks, which is exactly what we came here to do. So thank you, everybody. And Leanna is saying, I'd love to see funding opportunities that don't require business owners to go into debt, and/or education around credit and lenders. What are we getting ourselves into? How can we be cautious going into these negotiations?
Absolutely.
She adds, it's risky for systemically marginalized folks to be taking on debt. I am an entrepreneur because I'm passionate about my work, but I'm also an entrepreneur to accommodate my disabilities and different neurotype. Exactly.
Absolutely. There's this myth out there of entrepreneurship being this wonderful adventure of independence and you know, risk, and you know, moving towards this this big pile of money, and people are just making the choice to strike out on their own and make it happen. And you know, that's an interesting fantasy, and for a small portion of business owners, that may be the reality. But for way more folks who are self-employed and business owners, they become self-employed or business owners out of necessity because they have to. And so this myth of striking out on your own because you're just so damn independent and you can't be ruled by a boss anymore, that to me, that is straight out of you know, Mark Zuckerberg's garage nonsense, right? And it certainly doesn't help folks like us who are doing it to put food on the table, because it perpetuates this division in our society between business owners and people in traditional employment, because it perpetuates this idea that business owners are drowning in cash, when that they're just one step away from the next $1 million idea, when that couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Sylvia, I see you're raising your hand. We do have to wrap up. We've only got a couple minutes left. So I'm encouraging you to use the circle. Head on over there. I just posted the link to the circle in the chat again. And I just want to thank everybody for being here today, and for allowing the chamber to amplify your voice and your needs. You know, we exist to amplify the voices of diverse women and non-binary entrepreneurs. And it's events like this that help us connect to you and the work that you are doing, and to share how revolutionary and important it is that you are an entrepreneur. You are out there every day putting your capital and your experience on the line. And we are here to support that.